I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet or filmed and will be capable of repeated viewing or another such use by third parties. Please could I also remind members of the public who have registered to speak that they will be admitted to the meeting at the appropriate time. And please be aware that if technical difficulties interrupt the meeting that cannot be overcome, I may need to adjourn the meeting. If I could welcome you to this licensing subcommittee and introduce myself. My name is Councillor Paul Kesker and I'm acting as chairman. We also have councillors David Stocker, Louise Mead and Paul Stalker, who will be sitting on the panel. Item 2 on the agenda, apologies for absence.
Yes, Chairman, we have apologies from Councillor Jennings, and as a substitute for her, we have Councillor Stocker.
Thank you very much. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? Nope.
None.
Thank you very much. Items 4 and 5, procedures for the conduct of the meeting. These have been distributed to everybody, and I don't intend to repeat them, but we will simply note that they have been issued to everybody. We will therefore go on to item 6, which is the application for a premises licence for Il Vino, 28 Queen's Road, Buckerstill, Essex, IG9 5BY, pages 13 to 54 of your agenda. If I could ask the licensing officer to just introduce themselves and to go through the application.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Peter Jones, so I'm the licensing officer for Epping Forest District Council for this application. This application has been made by Dello Spirito Limited of the Coach House in Buckerstill for a new premises licence at 28 Queen's Road, Buckerstill. The application is for the sale of alcohol by retail, Monday to Sunday, 10 AM to 10 PM for off sales only, and the opening times to be the same. The application was received on the 23rd of September 2020, and the operating schedule sets out conditions which will be attached to the licence if it is granted. The responsible authorities have all received a copy of the application. It was also advertised at the premises and in a local newspaper. A copy of the blue notice and the newspaper advert is attached to this report. All residences and businesses within 150-metre radius of the premises were individually consulted. The authority has received 5 representations from members of the public, which are attached. There were also responses from Environmental Health, Essex Police, Essex Safeguarding, Essex Fire and Rescue, all of whom have no comment to make. These are also attached to the report. The objections received relate to the prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, and public safety. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We now would like the applicant or representative to present their case, please. If that's Mr. Long, you're muted.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Anthony Long, and I'm the applicant for the licence for Il Vino in Queen's Road. The object of the business is I've read the objections and totally understand people's concerns. But the object of the business is to provide a fine wine shop. This in no shape or form is going to be an off licence. I don't intend selling beers, cigarettes, snack foods, convenience items of any description whatsoever. The idea behind the shop is because, quite frankly, I've worked in the fine wine world for a good number of years now, and there simply isn't a fine wine shop anywhere around the local area. We have Waitrose that's been noted opposite the shop, which sells a selection of nice wines, but they only go so far. And we have a newly opened Majestic Wine Warehouse in Loughton. Similarly, there's one in Wanstead and Gidea Park. But again, Majestic Wine Warehouse is what it says. It's a warehouse. And their pricing and selection offer only goes to a certain level. The business plan behind Il Vino is to offer a selection and range of wines that, in general, picks up where John Lewis and Majestic Wines sort of tail off. So typically, the average price of a bottle of wine in this country is £6.20 or something. In Waitrose, typically wines are between 10 to 12 to 15 pounds, and then the selection gets very thin after that. The plan for Il Vino is to present a different kind of purchasing experience. So the wines will be presented very, very nicely in the retail environment, and we will have a fine wine section towards the rear of the shop. And the idea is to offer a service to the local community that they don't have currently available, which is to be able to buy fine wine by the bottle in a pleasant local shopping environment. And I would just like to stress that in no way whatsoever do I expect the sort of custom that would cause the public nuisance or endanger the harmony of the neighbourhood or safety in any way whatsoever. I would just like to, if I may, I'd just like to add just one final point that whilst I was in Queen's Road a few weeks ago with having a meeting with a wine importer, I actually took that opportunity to visit some of the neighbouring businesses. And I actually, this was on the 9th of October, and I actually called in to visit, as it turned out, 18 of the local shops and premises that are adjacent or nearby to the premises. All of them, without exception, were under the misapprehension that this was going to be an off license. So naturally, I had a conversation with all of them and explained to them the nature of what Il Vino is looking to do and provide. And again, without exception, they were all very welcoming, saying that they felt that the presence of a fine wine shop in Buckers Hill would add something to the retail offering of the area and would actually help encourage more custom and a good profile of consumer to the area.
Right, thank you very much. Can I ask the member? Oh, can I? Rosie Ferreira, who is our legal officer, wishes to speak.
Yes, I'd just like to remind the councillors and everybody else that one, this council doesn't have a cumulative impact policy, so it doesn't limit the number of shops that can sell alcohol. We don't have that sort of policy. Each case must be treated on its own merit, and you have to have the evidence to back up that this shop will cause problems, nuisance. You have to have the evidence. Mere speculation is not enough. So if somebody just puts in their application that the reason for representing is the grounds of public safety, or prevention of crime and disorder. Prevention of crime and disorder is really led by the police. Nuisance is really with the environment and anything else, but speculation is not good by itself. You have to have the evidence to back up your representation.
Okay, thank you very much for reminding us of that. Mr. Long, are you calling any witnesses at this time?
No, I don't feel that we need to at this stage, thank you.
Okay, in which case I will ask members of the panel, the councillors, if they would like to ask you any questions. No, I can't see anyone indicating at the present time. I see you're getting a registration at London Borough of Redbridge, and that's because that's where you live. You live within London Borough.
That's correct, yes. I live in Woodford Green, so I just come within Redbridge, and I have now received my personal alcohol licence from Redbridge. Good,
thank you very much. That was going to be my next question. So thank you very much. In which case, we will now take any objectors who would like to speak. Can anyone indicate if we have an objector who wishes to speak?
None present, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. In which case, the applicant has the right to make a final statement if you wish.
Well, I'd just like to stress that the idea of bringing a fine wine shop to Buckhurst Hill opposite Waitrose is to enhance the area. We have a new butcher's at the bottom end of Queen's Road, the Old Street Butcher, which has been open for, I think, about 9 months or so now, and has done a tremendous job, for reviving, the old butchers, the old high street butcher, of which there are very, very few left now. My intention is to help reinvigorate the high street in Queen's Road and bring back local trade to local businesses and provide a service that simply isn't available in the area. So I very much hope that my application is viewed in that light.
Okay, thank you very much. In which case, councillors, we would normally go into private session at this point to consider the application. Adrian, can you arrange that for us,
I can
please?
indeed. I shall put anyone who's not on the panel.
I'd like to thank you all for waiting in our virtual waiting room, part of which any delays is because of our struggling with the technology, but we are making it work. I will now read our decision. This is premises address of Elvino, 28 Queen's Road, Buckhurst Hill, Essex, IG9 5BY. We consider that the application satisfies the necessary requirements in order to be considered, as it is on the prescribed form, has been advertised and relevant notifications given. We are grateful to the applicant for his presentation to us this morning. We have taken these and the written materials submitted to us into account. We have considered what is appropriate to promote the 4 licensing objectives and the relevant parts of the Council's licensing policy and the Home Office's guidance. During our deliberations in private session, our advisory officers gave us no advice. The decision is that the licence be granted, subject to the following conditions, which we consider are reasonable and proportionate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. 1, the conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule and will not undermine the licensing objectives. We are also attaching the mandatory conditions contained in sections 19 to 21 of the Licensing Act 2003. The applicant and the objectors are reminded of their right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the date of the written notification of this decision. So the licence is granted and the necessary paperwork will be sent out in due course.
Peter Jones wants to say something?
Yes, can I speak to, Peter Jones?
Peter, you've got your microphone up by your head.
Oh, sorry. my bad. Can I just ask that Mr. Long or his agent provide details of the personal licence to me in order to issue the licence?
Yes, that's fine. I've got an email from London Borough of Redbridge, which I can forward on to you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much for attending today and assisting us in our virtual meeting. You're more than welcome to stay for the other application, but we fully understand if you decide to leave us now.
Thank you very much indeed, and I appreciate everybody's support, and thank you all again this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, our second application, which is number 6 on our agenda, number 7 on our agenda, is the Post Office at 7 Queen's Road, Buckhurst Hill, IG9 5BZ. If I could ask the licensing officer to identify themselves and take us through the application.
Morning, everyone. It's Hannah Gould here. So the application has been made by Ghulam Sarwar of Sarwar Trading Limited for this new premises licence at the Post Office on 7 Queen's Road in Buckhurst Hill. He has since appointed Andy Newman from Andy Newman Consultancy Limited, who is joining us today as well. This post office and convenience store, which offers greeting cards, stationery, confectionery, and soft drinks, seeks to include the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises, Monday to Saturday between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m., for which the premises opening hours are the same. The application was initially received on the 19th of August. However, the publishing of the notice in the local paper within the 10 working days of the start of the application was not met. So for this reason, we restarted the consultation period on the 8th of September this year. The responsible authorities have received a copy of the application. It was also advertised at the premises and in the local newspaper. All residents and businesses within a 150-metre radius of the premises were individually consulted. The authority has received 2 representations, both from local councillors. Details are attached. We did receive responses from Public Health, Environmental Health, Essex Police, Trading Standards, and Essex County Fire and Rescue, who have no objections. That's all.
Thank you very much. Could I then ask the applicant or his agent to make their case for the application, please? Who is it going to be? The agent, Mr. Newman. Yep, please go ahead.
Rosie wishes to say something. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Just before you start, yes.
Councillor Kesker, you didn't tell the meeting which of the councillors were actually sitting.
Right. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. As chairman, it's myself, Councillor Paul Kesker, Councillor David Stocker, and Councillor Louise Mead are sitting on this application. Right. I'm sorry. Please go ahead, then, Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Right. My client, Postmaster Mr. Golam Sarwar of Sarwar Trading Limited, respectfully applies for a premises licence for the off-sale of alcohol at Post Office 7, Queens Road, Buckers Hill, IG9 5BZ, Monday to Saturday, 9 till 7. This application is made, A, to help the business survive and thrive through these difficult times, B, to help support his parents and relatives in Bangladesh, and C, due to customer demand, where his customers have asked for this option to make their lives easier. Again, separate hearing, so I must stress this is not a cumulative impact zone or area, and that the lawful presumption is that the application be granted unless it can be demonstrated that the licensing objectives will be undermined. Therefore, the fact that a few premises are there that already sell alcohol is largely irrelevant. Respected postmaster, Mr. Sarwar, lives with his wife in Queens Road. He has run this business for about 5 years. None of the responsible authorities, each a recognised expert in their own field, have an issue with this application or believe that any of the 4 licensing objectives will be likely to be undermined. Respected local businesses, we've heard about the butcher, and residents have expressed support for this application. I could just refer to the Section 182 guidance to Licensing Act 2003, which you must regard. You don't have to take heed, but you must regard it. Under Crime and Disorder 121, licensing authorities should look to the police as the main source of advice on crime and disorder. Clearly they're absent. Licensing objectives and aims, 215. The legislation also supports a number of other key aims and purposes. They are vitally important and should be principal aims for everyone involved in licensing work. And they include recognising the important role which other licensed premises play in our local communities by minimising the regulatory burden on businesses, encouraging innovation and supporting responsible premises. Referring to the Epping Forest policy, in light of what seems to be a different approach to Il Vino, in the case of unconscious bias or deliberate racism, just remind under the policy 113, the equality duty, the Council recognises its responsibility under the Equality Act 2010 to have due regard to the need to eliminate unlawful discrimination, which is also law under the Equalities Act. And also under 138, the council recognises the valuable cultural, social and business importance that premises and events requiring a licence under the Licensing Act provide. I'd just like to add the decision of the High Court in Daniel Thwaites plc versus Wirral Borough Magistrates, where Justice Black, talking about magistrates, said they must measure their own views against the evidence presented to them. In that case, it was said they proceeded without proper evidence, gave their own views excessive weight. I don't imagine that will happen here, and the police views none at all. We would respectfully submit that little or no credible representations have been made, and would respectfully invite the committee to grant this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I ask councillors and objectors if they've got any question, I would just ask to say that I've sat on many licensing panels and quite a few as chairman, and we have never shown any discrimination one way or another to any applicant, or for that matter, supporters or objectors, and that each case is very strictly heard on its own merits only. Can I ask the councillors on the panel if they would like to ask any questions of the applicant's agent? Councillor Mead? No? Thank you. And wherever you are, Councillor Stocker, do you have any questions? Okay, in which case objectors can ask questions. Do we have any questions by objectors? No, it would appear not. In which case we go on to any objectors who would like to speak. And I believe Councillor Sherburnier, would you like to speak at this point as an objector?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, my name is Joanne Sherburnier. I'm a parish councillor in Buckhurst Hill West for the last 7 years. I'm also a district councillor. I live close to the post office in 7 Queen's Road and use it quite a lot. It's a small unit, and it sells lots of products that are very much valued by the local community. We have lots of homes for the elderly around Queen's Road, and I was just wondering if there would be room, in fact, to be able to sell all the products that 7 Queen's Road sells, as well as being the post office, and have space for an off-license idea. But that aside, excuse me, myself and Councillor Chambers. Councillor Chambers can't be here to object this morning because he is working in the NHS. We feel that Queen's Road is saturated by the sale of alcohol. There's a takeaway that sells alcohol off premises, to be drunk off premises. I think the post office at the top of Queen's Road, and now this one together with Waitrose. Well, the thing is, the area is saturated, and what seems to spring from that, which is often reported, was nearly always reported to parish council, is vandalism in our children's playgrounds, both in Rodin Valley Park and in very, very close by, excuse me, in King's Avenue. And people drinking alcohol, and we've had some of the children's play areas vandalized, which has cost quite a lot of money, residents, taxpayers' money, to put it right. So, number one, I do object to this, number 7, selling alcohol off premises. The area is saturated. Not all antisocial behaviour is reported to the police, but to councillors. So myself and Councillor Chambers, time and time again, get reports from residents about youth gathering in the children's play areas I've mentioned earlier, and also in the tunnel, actually, that goes between Queen's Road and Buckhurst Hill East. And so there you are.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair, for hearing that.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask our legal officer, please, if you'd like a word?
Yes, again, I will say this. The council does not have a cumulative impact policy, so it doesn't have a limit on a number of shops who can sell alcohol. And any representation is made must be backed up by evidence. You need to be able to show that that this shop is actually will be causing a nuisance, and you don't have that as yet, I don't believe. You've at the moment, youths who may be gathering in a children play area, it doesn't mean that those youths have come from this shop. It could come from any shop.
Okay, thank you.
You have to have the evidence to back up.
I appreciate that.
May I come back to that, Chair?
If you would like.
I'm talking about, first of all, the area is saturated with alcohol licenses where people can drink off premises. So just talking about the overall Queen's Road. So not saying that it's an absolute, that because if a license is granted, it's down to that one post office. Talking about the whole of Queen's Road.
Okay, I take your point, but I think our legal officer has also made the point that the council does not have a policy on this, and therefore we have no control over the number of premises. You could have a high street entirely made up of estate agents, off licenses, or clothes shops or whatever, and that is it's beyond our control because we have no policy. Could I ask if any of the councillors would like to ask the objector any questions? No? Councillor Mead? No? And then the applicant's agent, would you like to ask any questions of the objector? Please, Asit, unmute.
Absolutely, I would, Chair. Thank you very much. It's great that the councillor who's also the vice chair of the councillors, is so passionate about helping the elderly as a local resident, and is looking to help those who are facing appalling antisocial behaviour and crimes. That said, I won't go over special policy areas again, we'll be pleased to hear, but that said, no evidence whatsoever has been adduced to say that my client has in any way been involved in any wrongdoing that has led to any of these problems at all. And there's been plenty of time to adduce any such evidence. I would also say there's been a passionate comment about how many off-sale licensed premises there are, and they're clearly more than enough. So I would ask the question, why is it then that of the 3 Buckhurst Hill West councillors, excluding Mr. Patel, the other 2 have made a representation about my client and not about Il Vino? I don't quite understand. And furthermore, my client is a very responsible man. He's not going to be selling alcohol to anybody underage. And there's a complete lack of evidence with regard to this application, and the police and environmental health in particular, and licensing enforcement, who deal with these kinds of issues, and in particular regard must be given to the police, have offered no evidence whatsoever, meaning that they do not feel that there's any evidence or belief or likelihood that the licensing objectives will be undermined. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The objector can at this point make a final statement if you wish to do so, Councillor Sherburne.
Well, I'm just going to reiterate very briefly that Queen's Road, we are a village in Buckhurst Hill West, that the one main road, Queen's Road, is saturated with premises selling alcohol that would be consumed off premises. Olvino seems to be very, very different to this because it is a fine wine shop. So there's a different stock of alcohol as such. So that comparison by the agent, I'm afraid, doesn't hold water at all in my view. So yeah, as a parish councillor, we are dealing with vandalism, antisocial behaviour, with people drinking excess, and in particular in children's playgrounds and the tunnel. There you are. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to come back.
That's fine. And the applicant's agent has the opportunity to make a final statement, but not introducing any new issues at this point. If you'd like to make a final statement.
Thank you, Chair. Again, it's not a cumulative impact zone. There's no evidence to suggest that my client is anything other than responsible, which has been shown by the fact he's a postmaster and he's run his shop for 5 years. He lives in Queen's Road and loves Queen's Road and that village atmosphere and would do nothing at all. And that is supported by the evidence that we've submitted from residents and by local businesses as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. In which case the panel will now go into private session. If I could ask officers to put everyone else in the waiting room, please.
Okay.
Is everyone back in, Adrian?
They are, yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you. Right, this application is for the post office at 7 Queen's Road, Buckhurst, Essex, IG9 5BZ. We consider that the application satisfied the necessary requirements in order to be considered, as it is on the prescribed form. It has been advertised and relevant notifications given. We are grateful to the parties for their excellent presentations to us this morning. We have taken these and the written material submitted to us into account. We have considered what is appropriate to promote the 4 licensing objectives and the relevant parts of the Council's licensing policy and the Home Office's guidance. During our deliberations in private session, our advisory officers gave us no advice. Our decision is that the application be granted, subject to the following conditions, which we consider are reasonable and proportionate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. 1, that the conditions are consistent with the operating schedule and will not undermine the licensing objectives. 2, we are also attaching the mandatory conditions contained in sections 19 to 21 of the Licensing Act 2003. I would remind applicants and objectors of their right to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the date of the written notification of this decision. So the licence is granted and the applicants will receive a written copy from Epping Forest District Council. I'd like to thank everyone for bearing with us while we struggle with the technology, but at least it's enabled us to hold the meeting on the due date. So thank you very much indeed. In which case, I will just check. There are no items that will need the exclusion of public and press officers.
No, Chairman, no.
And therefore, I will close the meeting at 11 o'clock. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair.